So, guys, Giannis has back-to-back MVPs in his career. He's had 5 straight All-Star games, all NBA teams, won the Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, as well as the All-Star Game MVP earlier this season. So when we talk about someone who has collected all those little inches, Richard, done all those details well enough to get to the doorstep of a title, if he can pull it off and walk through that door, what would this mean for his legacy and the way people look at him?
Well, I think it's so early to talk about his legacy because he is 26 years old. But like when you think about, it's just what you're doing is you're just shrinking the company, right? That's what you're constantly doing. You get yourself into a spot where how many players have ever had a stretch like that, a 5-year stretch, a 4-year stretch? Not many in NBA history. And so I think the fewer people that can say they've done what you've done, that's where you start getting into elite company. This is just another piece of the pie for him, and hopefully a couple more if we want to start talking about in the greatest player and the greatest power forward is this big man's going to talk about it quickly.
Yeah, I can't talk quickly. I only can talk slow, but I am going to talk about it. When it comes down to Giannis' legacy, I'm talking about if he finishes this and wins the championship and the Finals MVP, we could just put him in the top 10 power forward of all time conversation for the simple fact that I get he has 2 MVPs. I get he has a Defensive Player of the Year. But the thing that stands out the most to me is the Defensive Player of the Year award along with the MVP award in the same season. There's only 2 other guys that have accomplished that in the history of the game, and that's Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. And when you look at his short career right now, with Giannis not just scratching the surface of his prime, the prime is between 27 and 34 years of age. He has a long way to go. But his resume is longer than, In-N-Out Burger at 11 p.m. at night.
I've never been to In-N-Out.
I have. It's a big person problem.
I know.
It's your
okay.
problem.
I'm sorry. Continue, Rachel.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, look, if he can win a title here, right, whether it's tonight, whether it's in a Game 7, I do think it will affect what MVP voters do in the future. There was definitely some voter fatigue with Giannis that we saw this year. He had some very good numbers this season, but wasn't in really any of those MVP conversations because a lot of voters felt like, okay, fool me once, fool me twice, but if you're not going to actually be able to punch through and even just play for a championship, make a finals, much less win one, I don't know if you can be the most valuable guy in the league. Whether that was fair or not, that was definitely an articulated position.
But there's going to be voter fatigue regardless.
Okay, I agree. And we saw that with MJ. We saw it with LeBron.
Yeah,
but the voter fatigue stopping after 2 MVPs versus possibly more MVPs. Yeah. I think if Giannis wins this title, in even just the short term, from what we saw, I'm going off what we saw this past year with voters who didn't vote him MVP, who didn't vote him Defensive Player of the Year, because there was a little bit of a show me attitude. Yeah. Well, if he manages to show all of them, then yeah, I think that will affect his voting and sort of his legacy and results for the next couple years in a way that will just add to that resume, add all those accolades. Yeah. So, and we can have, if they win tonight, Perk, I'm warning you now, we're going to have that top 10 forward of all time power forward conversation.
It's perfectly fine, but none of those power forwards have won a Defensive Player of the Year and the MVP in the same year, along with winning the championship and the Finals MVP. So bring it on.
Well, yeah, Perk. You are 100% right, and that's going to be the only time I say this today. But again, when you're talking about legacy, it's the company. How many people can say they've done what you have done? And to your point, there's only 2 or 3 that can have, you're going to start looking at the Karl Malones, you're going to start looking at the Tim Duncans, you're going to start looking at all of those individuals, and that's an elite company to be a part of.
But there is also the company he would be in the Bucks universe, right? So we just saw a video of Kareem, of Oscar Robertson. The same way with certain teams, those big franchises like the Celtics and Lakers, you can have a player who is possibly one of the greatest players of all time, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but is he the best Laker? Does that title go to Magic or Kobe, right? So within the Bucks universe, sure, Giannis is going to add to his legacy if he can win this tonight in terms of the NBA universe. But in the Bucks universe, this puts him solidly with Oscar, with Kareem, in a way that is just, I think that legacy here in Milwaukee will be cemented in a way that he will then be able to have a free meal here in the city anytime he likes for the rest of his life.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.